Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division with the various wind here for the Hot Springs tournament in Golf Clash the game. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and before we take a look at the videos, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. You can get the ultimate tournament guides, the best guides on the market for tournament, or the exclusive tour text guides on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Link you can find directly in the description down below. Follow the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. Hole number 1, and we're gonna play to the left hand side here. It might seem strange because the fairway is so open on the right, but you will notice why when it comes to the second shot. 4.5 bar topspin, 2 left spin, and I'm switching in the end to a katana ball. The reason why is because I don't want to use any overpower. So in headwind, a power 2 ball is a minimum if you don't want to play with overpower. But if we do have a straight crosswind or a tailwind, we can play with a power 1 ball and save our katanas or any other power 2 ball we may have in our bag. Max plus 10, I'm using 2 reigns of overpower as well. And then we bounce on the fairway over to the next fairway to roll nicely up for a position with our long iron to the pin on the second shot. You see, I have the backbone, and even if the backbone does not have a good ball guideline, it still has enough ball guideline for us to actually aim for the pin. The thing we need to have in mind, though, is to leave the ball guideline shorter than what I'm doing, because there is a big risk of coming in too hot if aiming directly at the pin. But the nice part is, once again, that we do have a good ball guideline, which is one of the reasons why we are playing on the left-hand side. The other reason is that this is an uphill adjustment, which means that we need way less adjustment for the wind than what we do need from the right-hand side. Minus 10% elevation, true distance, meaning whatever distance of your club you are in between minimum and maximum distance, obviously. Minus 10% elevation, you can see how close we are. We're taking a 180 around the cup and just barely missing. So a little bit unlucky, but that's because I'm adjusting just a little bit too much. But the big thing here is you really need to pay attention that if you have a crappy ball guideline like the back one has, leave the ball guideline a little bit shorter so you don't risk coming in too hot on the approach. Hole number 2, we're gonna play a rough bump here. You don't have to play a rough bump if you don't want to, but if you do want to have the best chance for a hole-in-one, the rough bump is I would say the risk that you're going to have to take. Because if you do have a bad pull, or you hit a very bad great right or a good right, you're gonna miss the rough. But I need to at least show you this route because there is a massive funnel on this screen. 3 bars of right spin, and then whatever spin, or let's say like this, whatever backspin that makes the ball guideline be approximately 1 green square short of hole. Adjustment maximum distance plus 20. In the video here, I'm using max plus 10, which is the reason why we're missing to the left side of the cup there. You can see that we're taking a painful 360, but in the end, it's gonna be a safe birdie. The rough bump here, in my opinion, is by far the best chance for an hole-in-one. But if you do not feel confident about playing that rough bump, that you might think, okay, I'm gonna miss the rough more times than I'm gonna hit it, then you aim on the fairway that is to the right of the rough, and you use backspin. And in that case, you're gonna have a less chance for an hole-in-one, but it's gonna be an ultra safe birdie. Hole number 3 is probably gonna be the toughest of the 9 holes to play of the Surupa Springs, but with a berserker ball, we give ourselves actually a very nice road to the eagle. I will talk more about the ball selection at the end of the shots here. So 4.5 bar topspin, 1.5 left spin. I'm playing minimum distance plus 10, and we're gonna play with our extra mile or whatever driver that gives us the most power possible. You see I'm centering the ball and I'm hitting perfect, and we would like to bounce on the fairway over to the next one and roll and not rolling too far, but the thing that we really want to look at is to be as close to the rough on the right as possible. Obviously, we don't want to set ourselves in a position where if a great right will roll into the rough, but the closer we are to the rough, the shorter the second shot will be for us. Or let's say like this, the easier it will be to get closer to green. So now we do have a tailwind, and I'm gonna use all the topspin that I can and 2 left spin. And here, it doesn't matter how much topspin you have, you use all. Because here we're gonna go max plus 10 adjustment, max overpower, half a ball of curl to the left. And I understand that hitting perfect with max overpower is not gonna be easy. It's not for anyone. And obviously, if the club is having a bad accuracy, such as the big dog, a bad great left or great right will make the ball sometimes roll into the rough. But we do need to get our ball as high up possible so we can play for an eagle for then the third shot. We're gonna take a look at the third shot. The third shot will be different because it could be all from a wedge to a short iron, and the only thing we need to stay away from here is actually stay away from the glitchy spots here. Look at the ball guideline. You can see how it's flickering like by showing it is to the pin and then not showing. So I'm backing up and playing on the fairway where I do have a more consistent roll, because in one of the worst thing in my opinion when it comes to taking a shot, you hit perfect, you line up perfectly, and you adjust it perfectly. Then the worst part is if we see that ball guideline going to the hole, but it catches that glitch and stops short. That sucks. So we do want to prevent that, therefore we're backing up. 10% elevation, EB school is what I would recommend to play here. For those that do play with other measurements, then obviously use whatever you feel confident with. But this is the best way to get an eagle, or let's say the easiest way to get an eagle. But let's talk about the other balls for a second. If we do not want to spend a berserker ball or any type of paid ball, then I would say a power 3 will still work, but you will most likely find yourself into short iron range. And then the short iron plays minus 10% elevation and true distance. So it plays like an uphill adjustment, not as the wedge plays here with a downhill adjustment. Hole number 3, tough one, but it's a makeable eagle, and an eagle should be considered a drop. For hole number 4, I do recommend the Goliath. We do need its power to prevent us from going in between clubs if we do play in headwind. So therefore, I stick with this even in tailwind. 4 backspin, and then we're gonna use 1 right spin. I would say in this case, going with somewhere between 2 to 5 bars of backspin is all fine. The thing that I do want to prevent though is to have to aim very close to the back right bunker, as you can see there in the view. Max plus 15 is what we're using, so maximum distance, 15% elevation, and I'm using a navigator. Bouncing on the fairway up towards the green, and this one gets in really nicely for an hole-in-one here on hole number 4. This is going to be a tough one, and as always, when we do play with a long iron with a bad ball guideline, which we don't have good ball guidelines with low-level clubs, we're going to have to guess in the best way we can, obviously, to get the ball guideline position in the best possible way. Hole number 4, I mean, it's not as good chance as hole number 2, but the chance for an hole-in-one is definitely there. So for hole number 5, we're gonna play with the quarterback. In headwind and crosswind, we can play with a power 1 ball. If we do have a headwind, we need to play with a ball with more power, or we have to change to a club with more power, because otherwise we will have to use a lot of overpower, and in my opinion, there is no point in doing that, not on a hole like this. 2 right spin and 1 backspin in the tailwind angles. If I have crosswind, I remove the backspin. If I'm having headwind, I'm gonna use a little bit of topspin. Adjustment is max plus a 10. And you can see here that we are bouncing nicely on the fairway. We have room to hit great left and great right. Now, going into the second shot, we're gonna play with our sniper. In the video, I'm using the wrong elevation, which is the reason why I'm missing to the right here in the end. But you can also see that I start by moving my target to max and then moving my target back to min. And the reason I do that is to try to judge the club distance that I'm going to play in. And that's obviously a tough thing to do, as it's very hard to be 100% accurate. But do your best and judge it the best you can. So instead of using 10% elevation as I'm using here in the video, I do strongly advise you to play with no elevation instead for a much better outcome. I'm using the rough bump as the play, as I do believe that the rough bump is giving us the best possible chance for an eagle, but it's also giving us a safe way to lock in the birdie. Hole number 6 is going to be a tough hole if you're playing from front tee. It's because it's so club dependent, in my opinion, that you know, it's going to be a struggle, especially with lower level clubs. What I would recommend here is to try to bounce on the fairway on the right, to bounce over into the fairway at the top there. We need to get over to that final fairway, because otherwise we will not have a chance to reach to the green in 2. So I'm using 5 to 6 bars of topspin here, because even if I have more topspin, I'm not able to use that all, because that will not make me stop on the fairway. So it's kind of like, okay, we need to use the correct amount of topspin. Max plus 10 is the adjustment, and here I'm using the big topper, and the only reason I'm using the big topper here is for the curl, because my clubs were so low, are so low on this account, that I don't have one ball of curl on that on this account if I'm not using the big topper. So I really had to think about what club that I were using there. So I used the big topper to get it down there, and that puts me in a spot where I actually easily can get this ball to green. Have in mind now with this shot that this is played massively uphill. And what does that really mean? It means that the ball will be less affected by the wind than normal. So we really need to think about that, because it's very easy to forget, and then you put yourself into trouble. So I'm aiming what I believe would get my ball to roll onto the green, but I also need to have in mind here that this is a very glitchy green. And the green could give you this glitch roll that rolls you over the green and puts you into an awkward spot. Look at this, that roll. And that roll is something obviously we do want to avoid, because if that rolls too far, we roll into the rough. But at the same time, it's impossible for you to see, because you don't really have a ball guideline to follow. So this hole is very difficult, in my opinion, to get anything else than an eagle on. Those of you playing with higher level clubs could maybe push the drive a little bit harder, could maybe then bound to land directly over the rough with backspin instead, and then all of a sudden the albatross attempt will be a possibility. But that's only possible with high level clubs and also with a good ball. So hole number 6, be careful, take it easy, get your eagle, and then move on to hole number 7. For hole number 7, we're gonna play with our quarterback, this to give ourselves the best possible accuracy. And we're gonna use a quasar ball as well, as there is no need to play with anything else than a power 1 ball. 2 right spin and 4 backspin. You can see that I'm having the white ring just by the rough line. This to make sure that we're not gonna go too long after our first bounce. Medium distance plus 20, as we're not in max distance, therefore we're using the medium numbers in this instance. Bounce on the fairway, we're getting it over and positioning ourselves nicely with room for faulty adjustment there, if you look how close we came to the rough. Second shot, we're gonna use 2 right spin, not 1, and no topspin or backspin. If we do have a headwind, we need to leave the ball guideline through the hole, otherwise we will come in short. But this shot here is obviously dependent on hitting perfect. There is no room for greats to go in, and this is a very elevated shot, meaning that we're playing such a downhill shot that it's going to be difficult to get this one consistent if we're not spot on with all the components, such as the pull angle, centering the ball, and obviously pulling in a straight line. 30% elevation, true distance. Unfortunately, a pretty bad great left, which is not gonna make anyone happy. So it bounces into the rough. It will still be a safe birdie, but with a perfect would have been pretty darn close. Hole number 7 is a tough par 4. And what I would say as an extra little thing for hole 7 is that if you do have a tailwind, there is a possibility for those of you that do play with high level clubs in rookie to play on the right hand side, to use a lot of topspin, such as 6, 7, 8 bars of topspin, to bounce the ball down to the right and just have a short wedge. But again, then you are dependent on having a good club. Hole number 8 is going to be a tough par 3, and here what I'm looking for is not to go for a rough bump. I understand that if you feel very confident with hitting perfect and you play with a club that gives you a good ball guideline, then the rough bump may be an option. But other than that, I do think there is too much risk for the reward it will give in the long run. So I'm starting at the +1 yard mark with my backbone. I'm aiming left side of the cup with the second bounce bouncing into the center of the dark green square row. Maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment is what I'm adjusting in the video, but I would like you to play max plus 30 for a better chance for an hole-in-one. This one is going to be an extremely difficult one when it comes to the tournament, and therefore I do see the value in at least locking in the safe birdie and then trying to tweak this shot to trying to get it in a better spot, making an hole-in-one. Hole number 9, and here it's very important to pick the correct club. I'm gonna choose the big topper here to use all the topspin, and here it doesn't matter what level you have your big topper in. If you don't have a big topper, then obviously use the other driver that gives you the most topspin, because here power doesn't really matter. Aim for the ball guideline to go down the fairway on the other side. Have in mind that the second fairway slopes slightly left. So in that case, we need to be careful with aiming too far left on the second fairway. Medium distance, no elevation on the drive, and then hit perfect. You can also see that I'm playing with a power 1 ball, and you may be wondering, why do I play with a power 1 ball on a long par 5? It's because here we are not gonna play for an albatross. We can't, like, I'm never gonna say something is impossible, but this albatross is close to be impossible, or as close as it is, because here we, even if we would be having the power to get down to the final fairway, we're gonna have to use overpower, we're gonna have to use curl, and we have a bunker, we have a green that slopes down, so we are easily rolling into rough at the back, and all of those things makes me not gonna go for it. It's not that I don't want to go for albatross, but when you weigh a risk and reward, like, the risk is too heavy for the reward that could get, in my opinion. So I'm using max topspin and whatever side spin I can use with my horizon, aiming for the first fairway, and then to bounce on that fairway to roll the ball onto the green, to play with a ball that doesn't cost as much, as it is one of the easier balls to get in chests, but also a safe way without any overpower and stuff like that to get ourselves an eagle. Because trust me, a lot of your opponents will getting into the thought with, okay, let's see, maybe we should go for the albatross here, but they will end up then in with a birdie. 10% elevation on the second shot. Make sure to use some curl as well on the second shot, so you push the ball right so you don't roll into the rough on the left. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this playthrough for Rookie Division with various wins here for the Hot Springs tournament in Golf Clash the game. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Get our exclusive tour text guides or the ultimate tournament guides on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Link is directly in the description down below. Thank you once again for watching, and good luck in your Golf Clash game.